everybody. Welcome to Game Junkie episode 5. And I'm really excited to be doing an indie developer deep dive. And I am here with Jin. Hello, Jin.
Hi, good evening to everyone, or good morning to wherever you are in the world. It's nice to be here. Thank you, Crystal, for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Jin is actually joining us from overseas, so it's pretty early in the morning where he is, and it's late where I am.
Yeah.
So he may have a little bit of bedhead, so that's okay. We don't have to make him show him that this morning. And the name of your development company, is it pronounced Verinius? Is that correct?
Yes, it's actually just my developer name because I started the project alone, so I wouldn't really call it a developer company. But I am working with a company, an indie company called Chicken Club. I am associated with them, but for the development tag, I just use Verinius.
Gotcha. Does that have a like meaning, or is it a word, or
No,
like?
um, growing up in the internet was very hard to look for unique names without numbers. So I just had to make up a unique name that I can use throughout different accounts. And Verinius seemed like a unique enough name, such that no one else was picking it. So there we go.
That makes sense. I mean, I certainly asked about it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, Jin, so everybody that watches can kind of get a chance to get to know you.
Right. So my name's Jin. I'm from the Philippines. I'm my day job is that I'm a lawyer, and the specific field is in the human rights law. I deal with victims of killing by cops, mostly by cops, and providing legal support to other NGOs who provide support to these victims. So, for example, other NGOs would provide psychosocial medical support, and I provide the legal support aspect. At least my NGO does. And in my and the work arrangement is, at least it's like flexible time schedule, and I can work from home, and that allows me to give enough time to work on my passion projects and my other job, my second job, and just have fun. Yeah.
So being a lawyer and being from the legal field,
Mm.
were you just always into gaming? Was that always a hobby for you, or how did you get into deciding, hey,
Oh,
I'm going to make my own game?
well, in when I was a kid, I grew up playing PlayStation 1 games, and then Game Boy, and then PlayStation 2, and then it just stopped there because my parents didn't buy me any more consoles. uh, but when I was in high school, I played Persona 4 in the PS2 and Manakimia, and Harry Potter was popular. I didn't read the books, but I did like enjoyed the movies, and I when I was that got my interest in gaming. But when I got into law school, I had this idea of actually an insight that when you know the law, it seems like you have the power to change things. You have the power to make things happen for yourself, or make things change, or pursue things that you couldn't have otherwise pursued if you didn't know any better. And that's where the idea that knowledge of the law seems like magic. And it was just an interesting idea. I wasn't planning on making anything. But then on the summer of 2018, when I passed the bar exams and I became a lawyer, RPG Maker MV went on a free trial over the weekend, and I just tried it out because hey, it's free, and I've never done. You know, I like RPGs, and I've never made one before, so it would be nice to make one. I tried it out. I tried the software. It was fun, and that's when I realized maybe I can create something that could show that level of insight, about law and magic, and influencing things with your knowledge. At the same time, make an RPG that is a magic school type of RPG with elements of gameplay with the games that I like. So I incorporated elements of Persona 4, Octopath Traveler, Manakimia, and other games that I like. Little elements, little game mechanics, and I'm pretty sure people who play those RPGs will recognize those elements in the game as well.
Wow, that's awesome. And for the folks watching and listening, it's called Lawmage Academy. Are there any other kind of specifics that you want to share about the game, or any other pieces of insights, or maybe any other things that have influenced the design?
Oh yeah. Okay. So for the battle system, I bought a Nintendo Switch specifically for this. I wanted to play Octopath Traveler because you know how games RPGs, they have this weakness mechanic. You hit the weakness, then it rewards you with extra damage. Sometimes in other games, it rewards you with an extra stun and or an extra turn. Uh, Persona 4 had that, but it didn't quite. It wasn't like complicated enough. Like it wasn't complex enough. And then I heard good things about Octopath Traveler. So and some of the plugins that I used in RPG Maker MV were influenced by Octopath Traveler. So I thought of giving it a shot. And I'm glad I did because I learned a lot about game design in Octopath Traveler. And speaking of game design, you know, my background in college was philosophy, and then I took up straight to law. I had no background whatsoever in game design, level design, art, music, writing, nothing at all about game making. When I made a game, I it was really a personal project, a personal challenge, and my challenge was: can I learn a skill, or can I make something that I know 0%, that I know nothing about? Can I learn all those skills and make something if I just put in the time, the discipline, and the commitment to do it? So I gave myself a year to experiment. So I went to YouTube, learned game design, how to use RPG Maker MV, how to use the software, and then learned about game design theories. Just like 10-minute videos per idea, level design. What's a good level design? How to make a story, or how to build a world. Writers have this thing what they call world building. So you have to think about the details of your world. How do people live there, stuff like that. And then how to think about game music, how to choose proper music, how music works. It's a music theory. I got into music theory too. And I looked up the principles of interior design so I could know how to make better maps, so on and so on. And those skills and knowledge is compounded up until I made demo, and and then I let my friends play it. I got some feedback, refined the demo further, and the journey just went on from there. Up until I realized when I put it out in public, people started liking it. Like surprisingly, they enjoyed it, and they said that this is the best game I've ever played, or this is my first. Things like that. I'm sure it's not the best, but people were saying it in the comment section or in the feedback. So I thought that, hey, maybe I do have something special here, and maybe I should commit to this even further, because who knows what might happen. So I did, and the journey just went on from there.
That is fascinating. That I mean, the I mean, law is a very challenging degree. It's a lot of work. It's hard. It's a lot of commitment. The work is a very high level. It is fascinating to me that you're doing that professionally, essentially during the day,
Mhm.
and then outside of that, you're doing every aspect of this game. There's a lot of art in the game and a lot of music, and you're completely doing that all by yourself outside
Well,
of working law.
I have to get credit as well to in the game design or advice. People would say that try to delegate as much as you can, and don't hesitate to use asset packs or commission people. So I did. I used some asset packs. Um, so I'm not sure if the audience can see it, but this background that you're using, the trees and the grass, those came from an asset pack of, it's called FSM, Forest Tile Set or something. I also bought some music packs which you can use for the game, even if it's a commercial game. So it's relatively cheap. Plus, it saves a lot of time. I don't need to compose it from scratch, and I can't compose music. And I also delegated some art, some illustrations. I commissioned someone who is an artist, and obviously he has a better sense of design, uh, character design than I do. So I commissioned it to him. But the pixel art, the characters that you see on the screen, I had to learn pixel art, and I had to do it All the pixel art, at least most of it, as far as I remember, I made all of it. And but the fact that I used asset packs and commissioned some artists, it really helped a lot because that would cut down production time by so much, by like a year or maybe several months. So it saves a lot of time.
Oh, wow. So it's essential. I mean, I know nothing about this, so I'm learning a lot. You're teaching
Mhm.
me a lot here. So this tool that allows you, right? This tool is kind of the catalyst that allows you to create your
Mm.
vision. There are some options in it that you can just kind of buy and plug and place, so you don't have to do everything from scratch, from the ground up, essentially.
Okay, so maybe for the benefit of people who's never heard of a game engine before, I'll explain it like this. So if you want to make a game, uh, let's think of let's think of a car factory first, right? So in a car factory, it's a place where you make cars, but in the car factory, you can make different types of cars. You can make a sedan, you can make an SUV, you can make all sorts of sizes, different colors. The game engine works similarly. The game engine is like that car factory, and you can make different kinds of cars in that different kinds of games in that game engine. Now, RPG Maker MV, it's RPG Maker is a brand of it's a type of game engine, and it has evolved over the years. So they have RPG Maker 2000, RPG Maker XP, so on and so forth. And one of the most recent one is MZ, but the generation before that is MV. When you buy RPG Maker MV, it has some assets that comes along with it, some pictures, characters, sounds, music. You can use that, but a lot of people use it, right? So we want your game to be unique. So other people in the asset store in the internet or even in the DLC page, they sell it as a DLC, but it's not really a DLC. They sell art, music that they have made for RPG Maker MV so that you can use it in RPG Maker MV. So it's designed or created that meets the specifications of the game engine. And it may not necessarily work for other popular game engines. So I'm sure you've heard of Unity
Mhm.
or Unreal Engine, maybe. So those are all also game engines. And if you're going to make an asset pack for those game engines, it will look different. The files are different, um, so it has different specifications. So anyway, I bought these asset packs from different people, and they're relatively cheaper. Uh, like if you want to buy music from iTunes, that's like $1 or $2 per song. But if you're gonna buy a music pack for games, you buy it as a set, like a set of 10 tracks or a set of 8 tracks for let's say $4 or $5. It's much cheaper, and you can use it commercially, and they sound good. So you have that discretion in which ones to use, uh, and so on. And you can also, I mean, if you're a creator yourself, you can create music for game engines, and people who want to make games can buy your products, your albums, your or even artworks, your character designs, and use it for their own games. So that's pretty much how it works.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Mm.
It's kind of like getting WordPress, and instead of using one of the default templates, you pay
Mm.
for a design template in place. So tell me then a little bit about kind of the basics of the game. So if I were to
Mm.
start the game, kind of what does it look like when I
Uh,
start, and what does that journey kind of feel like?
Okay, so when you start the game, you press new game. First, you'll get a view of the controls, and then you'll get a view of the premise of the game, which is it's a country, a magical country ruled by a council, and I call it the Magisterium. And the Magisterium is just composed of three of the most powerful and popular law mages in the country. And now a law mage is simply a mage that can use spells that are more powerful than what ordinary mages can cast. And ordinary mages are not allowed to cast law mage spells because they don't have enough training to to use those spells, and it could be dangerous if they use it. Now, the Lawmage Academy is where they train law mages, and you, as the player, are invited to study in Lawmage Academy. So, as you play the game will ask you certain questions, It's like a personality quiz, right? It will ask you which one of these items strike you the most. What is the purpose of power? What are your virtues? And that determines certain things in the game. It determines your starting spells, your stats, and where you end up. Which one of the four houses do you end up in? And once you get assigned to one of the houses, you meet your best friend in front of the academy, go on, and you get introduced to several things. First of all, the calendar mechanic. You have 200 days in the academy. Um, the calendar system that I designed was there are 10 months and there are 20 days in a month, and you have free reign of what you want to do per day. But time goes on. Every action, at least most actions, will cost a day, and more. And at night, you can also spend different actions. You can spend time with friends. You can study. You can do a job to make some extra money. So you'll be introduced to that mechanic. Another mechanic are the classes system. So you can take different classes. First, you have to take homeroom classes to get to know the rules of the game in the academy, and then you'll take potions, spellcraft, spellcasting, and combat, and then all these other more complicated classes. And some of the classes will require you to go outside of the classroom and into the field and actually fight monsters. So those are called field missions. So you'll be introduced to that mechanic as well. But you can also spend time with friends. By making friends, you're essentially recruiting them to your party. And even though you've recruited them, you can still spend time with them, get to know them, their fears, their hobbies, what they want to do with their lives. And as you get closer to them, they grow as a person, and by growing they learn more skills, like what we call aura skills, special skills that are unique to each individual. So you have spells which you learn through books and lessons, and you have aura skills which are skills unique to the person. And so as they grow as a person, they learn these unique skills which can benefit you in battle or outside of battle as well. So I'll stop with that because it's too much already to process.
No, no, no. I just have questions. So,
Right.
as you put in the time to improve the affinity of these relationships, that
Mhm.
you can use them in battle, or you can use them for other purposes in the game that
Yeah.
may benefit your stats or your build, right?
Yes.
Does it have other RPG elements as far as like story arcing if you make certain decisions or like certain dialogue options?
Oh, right. Yeah, it does. It certainly does. So, well, I'm not gonna mention everything, but yeah, if you choose one dialogue option other another, it can branch out to different um, results. There are moments in the game where for example, do you do this, or will you do this, or you won't? So there's two options. So if you do it, the game will react differently. But if you don't, certain things will change, um, and you will see it as you keep playing. And I do plan to have multiple endings, but even as early as now, as early as the build now, people will see how your actions and your choices influence your game experience, and not just the dialogue changes. There are also dialogue changes, of course, but you will see like the level, the areas that you can access will change. The areas that you can access uh, will change. The areas that you can previously access or can already access will also change, and some areas will be locked or unlocked depending on your choices. And some characters might be angry at you, or they're not angry at you because you made certain decisions. So things like that.
How cool. What is the process like behind the scenes, kind of designing that story and keeping track of it? I mean, how are you,
Oh yeah.
like, what does that look like? That must be crazy.
Yeah, it depends per person, right? Some people would make flow charts and stuff. I've never made a flow chart of it, though I think I should, but I've never made a flow chart. So it's just on my head, and I have these little notes. Like in Mac, I'm using a MacBook Air, by the way. I don't have a PC because my dad bought me a MacBook Air so that I can't play games. Well, but sucks to him. I'm making a game now. So I have these little notes in the notepad, and you know, it's just bullet points of what will happen if this happens and that happens. So, and how do I keep track of it? I guess it's just in my head, and you can see it in the game engine. The way that I'm gonna call it code, but it's not really code. The way the scenes are coded, you can see it. So I get reminded of it as well. And I watch as much as possible. I watch playthroughs of the game in YouTube and in Twitch, so that reinforces my memory of the game, of what happens if they do this and do that. And the reason why I enjoy watching playthroughs is because every playthrough is different. Like people, no matter how minute the difference is, it's still different, and people decide and interact with things differently. Like some people would take longer in this part, some people would just go straight to the objective, and that will, I find bugs and I find issues, and so on and so forth. So that's how I keep track of it mentally, and the rest is just bullet points in a notepad, basically.
That's impressive. That's you have an iron memory. That's really, really impressive. It's very hard to do that without. I mean, bullet. I'm kind of a sticky note bullet point person,
Yeah.
but you're like that's next level. That's pretty impressive. So you mentioned that the game may end up having multiple endings, maybe two endings. Do you? So you're not. People can go ahead and play it, and I'll make sure in the pinned post for everybody. I'll put the link where you can get the game on Steam, and I'll also put the website so you can check the game out. How far along do you think you are from
Hmm.
completing the game?
I'm about 20% because there's like 10 months. There's 10 months planned, and I finished 2 months of the game. And
That's a
I hate
lot
to
of
admit it,
content, though. Like I
it
checked
is.
a little bit out on online,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of content for only 20% in.
Yeah, it's about 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours, depending on how much you explore, really. Um, and it took me, so I've been making this game for 3 years now, and it took me 3 years to make 20% of the game. But it's not an issue of content, because if I wanted to make a 40-hour game, I could easily stretch it to 40 hours. I could easily put in a lot of monsters and weapons and skills. But what took so long is learning the skills necessary to polish the game. So it's not an issue of content. Like I can't think of levels to make. I can make as many levels as necessary. That's easy. But learning the pixel art and learning the actually pixel art takes a lot of time for me. Like even if I can design monsters, the stats, the names, and the skills that they're going to use, the pixel art for the monsters, I have to make those, and that will take me some time, a few days, perhaps per monster. And the levels, you can make a dungeon very easily, but the question is that dungeon or is that level good level design? So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. You can't just some people, some RPG Maker developers who are new to it, they just do it. They make levels based on what they think a level should look like, and it has a lot of open spaces. It's quite blank, um, and you have to think as you learn more about level design. Perhaps that's not the best way to make a level. Maybe it doesn't have to be big. Maybe it doesn't have to be so big, but could be small. But there's a lot of branching pathways. There's a lot of switches, things like that. And that's what learning those skills, that knowledge, is what took time for me. That's why it took 3 years before 3 years of making and then refining the same content.
You're so analytical. Just listening to you describe the approach and how you're keeping track of things, like I can kind of see how your brain works, and it's a beautiful thing. So now that you've kind of spent so much time in for the polishing portion, do you think you're on scale to complete the rest of the 80% at a
Yeah,
faster rate than you did the first 20? Is that reasonable?
I'd like to think so, but I also have to be open to the possibility of setbacks. Maybe there are some things that I think, for example, I think that a certain task will only take 1 month, but it turns out as I'm doing it, it is probably going to take 3 months, right? You have to be open to that idea. So I do have a plan, like a rough timeline, but and also my mental health and energy. Like I can't do this every day. I have to. I do get burnt out and I do get tired, so I have to account for resting period. Actually, this whole month of May, I'm resting, quote unquote. And by resting, I mean I'm not working on the game, but I am watching streams. I am talking to people, like in this podcast, and I'm some interviews, some news articles would contact some news outlets would contact me for their articles and send questions, and I answer those questions. So that's what I've been doing for this month. So I have to account for my rest periods as well. But
Sure.
yes, I am on track into completing this.
How cool. It's it's a is it mobile or no? It's just PC.
For now, it's going to be PC, but because it makes sense, right? Because a lot of well, I'm not sure, but a huge majority of games are developed on the PC. And if you make something on the PC, it only makes sense that they run in the PC, right? Though you can make a game from the PC and then it only runs in mobile. Yeah, I mean, you find games like that, mobile games. But most of the games are made on the PC, so it only makes sense that they run in the PC.
Right.
So I planned that first. I want the PC to go first, and primarily because there are a lot of gamers in the PC, and then I can think about porting the game to other platforms. Because if I think about releasing it for the PC and the mobile and all the other platforms, it's gonna take extra time, and I might lose focus because those are different platforms and different bugs that you have to fix, different issues. So it's gonna take so much time.
Yeah, developing in the Android is hard.
Yeah,
I thought it
exactly.
was PC, but then I wanted to make sure. I was like, I don't think I saw where it was on mobile, but I wanted to make sure and clarify that
Yeah,
folks so they know they can play it. So is the idea of the game right? Our goal is to become a law mage. Is
yeah.
that's the
Basically, you finish your 1 year there and become a law mage. But as you play, there's a lot of secrets that you're gonna uncover, a lot of mysteries and threats, and I'll just leave it at that. It's not as simple as it is.
no, that makes sense. I mean, we don't want
Yeah,
to spoil anything, but
of course.
it sounds pretty exciting. How do
Mhm.
you? I mean, how do you? It's hard to keep creativity all the time. I mean, I know you're
Yeah.
sometimes you're taking breaks where you can just get feedback or talk about it or absorb things.
Mhm.
But what is gaming a big like gaming and sci-fi content a big part of something you do to kind of keep that creativity and keep that passion going?
The creativity actually comes from real life experiences, I would say, and I learned that the early game developers of 90s and 80s, their inspiration, since video games weren't a thing yet, right, back then, their inspiration was real life experiences. And for me, it's the legal side. As a human rights lawyer, I encounter issues in life, and also, I mean, watch I watch TV series and other content. But primarily, it comes from the people I've met. The inspiration comes from the people I've met, the situations and scenarios that I have to listen to and give advice to, problems that I have to solve, and I try to process those things and come up with something fun or creative for the game. That's my primary source of inspiration. I rarely run out of inspiration for this game because there's so much I want to. There's so many ideas that I have that I have to vet which ones I don't like, which ones can I put in, and which ones uh, doesn't have to be there. And so I have this vetting process. I have a lot of notes that I like. In the beginning, I would just write anything that comes to mind. It can come randomly, as random as when I'm taking a shower or driving in a car. Like I have these ideas, but so I just write them down, and then later, if I need ideas, I'll just look back to my notes and see if I could incorporate those or not.
Your sticky notes,
Yeah, my digital sticky notes.
digital sticky notes. So kind of as we come to a close, do you have any like final thoughts or anything that you want to share for the folks that are watching and listening that may be interested in giving the game a try?
Mm. So uh, just please do download the game, try it out, and don't be afraid of making the wrong choices. Because I've had some people say that, I think I'm making the wrong choices. I got to load to a previous save file. It's not necessary. Every choice is just as valid as other choices. And of course, there will be different consequences. But pretty much just like in life, every path is just as valid. And, you live up to, you reap what you sow, you live up to the consequences of your choices. And that's what makes each playthrough unique. And if you think that it could have gone better, try a different playthrough or load to a different save, and you'll still find certain things that are well. Now you have the benefit of knowing what happens if you chose the other one. But just so you know, each choice and each path is okay, and it's okay to make mistakes. Pretty much just as in life. So that's it, and please enjoy. I hope everyone enjoys.
Yeah, again, I want to remind everybody in the pinned post, I'll make sure that you guys will get the link so that you can download this game for PC on Steam, and also send you to the website, which is super cute. That guy you commissioned, did he do the art on your
Yeah,
website,
yeah,
the
I did.
character art?
Yes.
It's super cute. It's really good.
His name is Puzzle, and I saw him on Twitter, and I noticed that he didn't have much in terms of portfolio. And then I also knew that I found out that he was also a Filipino. When I learned those, I contacted him because I was looking for artists, and I contacted him, and thankfully enough, like we had such a good working chemistry, and I can see his growth working on Lawmage Academy. And now a lot of people are commissioning him. He has a very huge portfolio, and I'm just glad that you know I'm seeing the growth of the people I work with, including the musicians and the artists, and it's just really nice to see. But yeah, he did all the most of the illustrations, the anime type illustrations that you see.
Cool, because they were super cute. It
Mhm.
definitely looks cute. I may have to get a PC so that I can give the game a try because I've got Macs over here too.
Oh,
Well,
you have a Mac?
I do, yeah.
Oh, you can play. You can play it on Mac.
Can I?
Yeah, because I developed the game on Mac, so I was able to deploy it on Mac.
See, I know so little. You can tell that I've been into because console hit way before
Yeah,
PC games hit because we were like, what the hell's a computer and the internet? We didn't have it, so I never really. So I think I'm gonna definitely give that a try. It looks super
yeah,
cute. It looks
and
fun. Looks like the kind of game you can kind of get absorbed when you want to, and
mhm.
still have
L- l-
your
let me
real life.
know your thoughts, like when you play it, and once you get to certain. I don't know. Just keep in touch. Talk to me and let me know what you think.
Definitely. And when this, for the folks who are seeing this link on Twitter, I'll make sure that I tag Jen in it as well. So if you want
Yes,
to reach out and give any feedback to the game or make any comments, please
yes,
definitely
please.
do that and let him know. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jen, and
Thank you.
for telling us about the game. And I hope some folks download this and give it a play. It looks super cute.
Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. And I hope everyone who's listening, you try the game, and I hope you have fun and have a great day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.